What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Knicks Latest. I am your host, Josh Rodriguez. I'm going to be bringing you coverage of our favorite team, the New York Knicks, almost every day for the rest of time, for the rest of this YouTube channel's life. That's what I'll be doing. We're just getting started here. This is our fourth episode. It is a very interesting time to start the podcast and the show because the playoffs are right around the corner. I know that as a Knicks fan, you probably have shows that you have been watching or listening to, and we're new, but I promise, give us a chance. We're going to have a great time here. I want to make you a part of the show just as much as I'm a part of the show. I want to take your comments, and I want to display them, and I want to debate them, and I want to talk to them. I want to answer your questions, all that good stuff. You can also follow me everywhere at Josh_Rodriguez_. I want to answer your questions, all that good stuff. I want to make you a part of this show. We are the New York Knicks community. We are living in, I think, a new golden age of Knicks basketball for the first time in over 20 years, close to 20 years. The Knicks have won 50 games in back-to-back seasons. This is not something, especially if you're my age, this is not something that comes around often if you're a Knicks fan. So it's an exciting time to be a Knicks fan. The playoffs are right around the corner. You know, the Knicks right now, they are locked into the 3 seed. Let's get right into that pretty much. Magic number's 1, which means if they win tonight over the Boston Celtics, they are locked into the 3 seed. If the Pacers lose another game, they are locked into the 3 seed. All the Knicks need to do is win one more game going forward, or the Pacers have to lose one more game going forward, and the Knicks are locked into the 3 seed, which is where we knew they would be, right? Like the Cavs and Celtics got off to such a hot start and pretty much established themselves as the 2 best teams in Eastern Conference Finals. I think any realistic Knicks fan knew that they weren't going to catch the Cavs or the Celtics. And then on the back end, the Pacers and Bucks got off to slower starts. The Knicks pretty much were established as the 3rd best team in the East with the 3rd best record. And there's no shame in that. It just is what it is. The 3 seed just seems like it was an inevitability since, I don't know, January, really, December. I mean, I think at the All-Star break, we all knew what was happening. And now it's here. And now that it's come around, it's time to look forward to the playoffs. And I'm excited for that, but we can't officially do that until the Knicks win tonight or win another game. And so I'm hoping they get it tonight, you know, against the Boston Celtics team who they have not beat this year. They have not beat teams like the Cavs or the Celtics or the Thunder. You know, that's been well known throughout the year, and I don't know what tonight looks like as far as injury reports. We'll get into that, but a win against the Celtics, no matter who's on the court, would be great, especially if it's going to clinch the 3 seed, especially if it's going to give Tibbs the opportunity to rest players or to get players back into shape depending on who they are. You know, it is important to clinch the 3 seed because going forward for the regular season, we're not going to have much to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, there's no questions that need to be answered, really, in the sense of, like, where the Knicks are going to finish or why they don't have to play as hard. I'm not saying tank these games, but what I am saying is, like, yo, Mikal Bridges doesn't have to play 40 minutes. Josh Hart doesn't have to play 40 minutes. If Mitchell Robinson doesn't feel like playing, don't play him if he's a little banged up. Same with Deuce who's come back from injury. Or vice versa. If they didn't get back in shape, throw him out there. Start him. Play him 35 minutes. You can mess around with things. I think it's really important they get this 3 seed just right away. So they're not, like, desperately trying to get it, if that makes any sense. Get the 3 seed. Let's move on. Let's start thinking Milwaukee. Let's start thinking Detroit. It's that time of year. Really excited for that. And with that said, tonight, the New York Knicks go against the Boston Celtics, a team who I hate more than any team in the league. I don't know who your least favorite team is. Maybe drop a comment and let me know who your least favorite team is. I used to hate the Pacers. I used to hate the Heat growing up, 90s baby. Watching those teams and the Bulls, especially Michael Jordan, ruined my childhood. But since 2008, since Ray Allen, Garnett, those guys, they joined forces. I've hated the Boston Celtics. Plus, it's just Boston. I'm a Yankee fan. It's just natural for me to hate Boston. I hate Boston. And anytime the Knicks play the Boston Celtics, I take it personal. And I don't know who Boston intends on playing tonight. If you look at the injury report, Jaylen Brown is questionable with a right knee injury and an illness. Drew Holiday is probable, so he's probably going to play. Al Horford's already out, so no Al Horford. Porzingis is questionable with an illness. Jason Tatum is questionable with an illness and a left ankle sprain. And Derek White is also probable, so he might play, but big toe sprain. So you might have Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, and Al Horford all out. Those are your three best players, and Al Horford. Nothing against Al, but Al out of the starting five is not. Whatever. You get what I'm saying. It'd be interesting to see what Mazzulla does here. Do you put up everybody, and even though they're injured, it might need rest, and maybe give the Knicks some confidence, right? I remember last year, the Knicks went to Boston and smacked them, and that's what turned my whole thinking around about that team, because last year, Julius was injured. They didn't really have their whole team. Bogey was still kind of getting acclimated. Burks was still getting acclimated. If you remember last year, Burks didn't really play well until like that Indiana series, really. And that win in Boston last year gave me the confidence as a Knicks fan that this team could win the East. And I still fully believe that the last year's Knicks team, if they were healthy, they could have won the East. I'll stand on that. I don't think they would have been the favorites. I'm not saying they would have beat Boston, but they would have had a great chance to beat Boston last year. And a large part of that is because of the way that they performed in Boston. And it gave them confidence. And then also, like, Mazzulla had some quotes last year about the Knicks playing desperate. And I think thinking about last year, it brings me to this year where it's like, do the Celtics really want to give the Knicks confidence going into what is going to be a second-round series with them? You play Porzingis, you play Tatum, you play Brown. Let's just say hypothetically the Knicks win that game and they win it big. And the Garden's going crazy. Now, all of a sudden, maybe they found something. Maybe they found a way to hide Cat in the pick and pop, or maybe Tibbs has found an adjustment. You're giving Tibbs an opportunity to figure out today. And I don't know if the Celtics are going to let Tibbs do that, right? If it's full roster versus full roster, Tibbs can try things. You're not going to get that opportunity in a 7-game series. Well, you are in game 1, but you might get smacked, and it's higher stakes. There really aren't high stakes today. The Knicks' magic number is 1. It's not like if they lose tonight, they're not going to get the 3 seed. So it's a very interesting matchup tonight. I'm actually very fascinated about it. I'm fascinated pregame. I'm watching the injury report to see who's going to play, because I think it would be a mistake if the Celtics played everybody. You already are locked into the 2 seed. It doesn't even make sense, right? I mean, you know who you are. You're the defending champions. There's nothing you really need to work on. Your starting unit fits like a glove. Everybody knows their roles and identity. Why would you give the Knicks an opportunity to figure something out against you at home? A team that hasn't really figured themselves out all year. It doesn't really make sense. If I'm a Celtic fan, if I'm in the Celtics organization, I would sit everybody. I really would. And I'm not just saying that because I want the Knicks to win this game and to clinch the 3 seed. 3 seed to me is not a big deal. I mean, it's whatever. Give me the 4, right? I'll take the Cavs in the second round. So to me, it's not that big of a deal. To me, it's just kind of like a finality of the season where it's like, okay, now we can rest people and we know what we're doing. But yeah, so I find that fascinating, right? To me, the fascinating part isn't so much the game. The fascinating part is who's going to play. And then it becomes, all right, so if Porzingis is playing, how do they guard the pick and pop? Is there anything that Tibbs tries on the pick and pop? What are we going to do when Karl Anthony Towns gets put into a pick and roll situation? Is Mitchell Robinson going to play? What do Cat and Mitchell Robinson look like? What does the big lineup look like against the Celtics? And those are the things I'm fascinated to see. But we don't have. I don't know even what to preview here until injury reports come out. So we'll see. I'm excited though because it is the Boston Celtics. I do hate the Celtics, and I actually think the Knicks are going to win tonight regardless. I think they're due. Jalen Brunson's back. The team is getting healthy. I just find it hard to believe that they can go the whole regular season without beating a team like the Celtics or the Cavs. This is a team that has 50 wins. It's not like the Knicks are an average team. This is one of the better teams in the league. Like, you're going to tell me that we can't beat the Cavs or Celtics one time? We got the Cavs later. Like, come on. That's ridiculous. I think the Knicks are due. I think they get a W tonight, regardless. I think the Celtics are playing it kind of cautious, and that's fine. It's whatever. I just really hope that the Celtics play everybody because I need to see what adjustment Tibbs does. I need to see if he's figured anything out to give me confidence going into that second round series against the Celtics. Right now, I have none. If I were to choose right now, I'd choose the Celtics in 5, maybe 4. 5 would actually be generous based off of what we have seen because they have not even been close to the Celtics this whole season. They haven't. The Celtics have blown them out in every game. So why would I think they can win a game in the playoffs? I don't know. I would need to see tonight something happen with Karl Anthony Towns on a defensive end for me to believe that the Knicks can beat the Celtics. So we'll see. I'm hoping they play everybody. I don't think they are. And with the win tonight, or with the Pacers loss tomorrow, and actually it doesn't really matter because we know the Knicks are going to be playoffs, right? It starts the questions of, is DeLon Wright going to take Cam's spot on the bench? Is Josh Hart going to be moved to the bench? Is Mitchell Robinson going to start? Is Mitchell Robinson going to come off the bench? I'm really interested to see what Tibbs does during the playoffs. Not particularly in the first round. And I say this as a Knicks fan. I know it sounds like I'm looking past whoever the Knicks are playing in the first round. I don't mean to do that. I'm so focused on the Celtics that I'm kind of doing that. But I wonder what a version of this team looks like with Josh Hart coming off the bench. I wonder what a version of this team looks like with Mitchell Robinson starting. I wonder what a version of this team sounds like with DeLon Wright maybe being the backup point guard instead of Campaign. I still think there are playoff rotation questions. You know, when the team was fully healthy last game for the first time, you had the starting lineup of Brunson, Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG, and Cat, with Mitch coming off the bench, Shamet coming off the bench, Cam, and Deuce. I don't know if I like that rotation. I understand it's the one that has kind of been set in place, or that was the vision coming into this season. But I think the Knicks and Tibbs he has an opportunity now to kind of mess around with different rotations and other players too who haven't really been a part of, I guess, the rotation or the process going forward. Someone like DeLon Wright, who looked really good in his time, filling in time for Jalen Brunson when he was out, and filling in time for Cam when he was out. You know, I think Kolek is a little raw. I don't think he's going to see any minutes in the playoffs. I liked what he did. But defensively, I don't think Tibbs trusts him, so I think he's out of the question. I wonder what Tibbs is going to do here. And to me, I feel like he's going to play it safe. You know, he's an open book, but he's also very calculated, and I don't see him varying away from, you know, what he's been doing all year. You know, maybe against a team like the Bucks, where you need a little more height, Mitch starts. I don't know, though. I don't know. We'll see. What do you think the playoff rotation is going to be, and what do you think it should be? Do you think DeLon Wright should get some playing time over Cam? Do you think Mitch should start? Do you think Josh Hart should be back in the bench? I've seen some different arguments here on Twitter. It's a very interesting argument, but I genuinely don't think that Tibbs is going to do anything. I kind of want to see some changes, and I wish we had a little more. I wish everybody was healthy earlier in the season so that Tibbs could kind of fool around and mess around with those rotations. He hasn't been able to do so, though. So let me know what you think about what the rotations are going to be. Make sure you subscribe to the show. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh_Rodriguez_. We are going to be making social media handles for the show as well, so look out for that. Excited to be doing this. I'm a huge Knicks fan. I've always wanted to do Knicks content. I have my other podcasts. I've done shows on YouTube, but nothing Knicks central, Knicks focused. So I'm excited to be doing this. I want to interact with y'all. You know, you are my favorite community. The Knicks are my favorite team in the world. I'm a Yankees fan, I'm a Giants fan, but the Knicks are number one to me. Grew up in the Bronx, going to Knicks games. Those 90 Knicks, man, hold a special place in my heart. And I just can't wait for the playoffs. Can't wait for the playoffs. Can't wait to see what this team's going to do this year. Can't wait to see what this team's going to do going forward in previous years. I'm going to be here throughout the offseason as well. So make sure you're subscribed to the show. We're going to be around for a long time. Catch you tomorrow. Post game. Knicks Celtics. Hopefully the Knicks clinch that 3 seed. Peace.